Schönen guten Tag aus Bukarest, meine Damen und Herren. In Bukarest, in Rumänien, finden dieses Wochenende das Finale der Präsidentschaftswahlen statt. Und offensichtlich ist es ein sehr spannendes Rennen. Ich habe hier einen Gast mit mir, ein konservativer Politiker, der für uns die Lage analysiert. Es ist Mihail Neamțu und er wird sich jetzt gleich selbst vorstellen. Mihail, please.
Nice to meet you, sir, and I greet all the Swiss readers of your wonderful journal. I'm very glad that when I was 21, I spent a few weeks, actually probably 2 months, in Switzerland, in Ticino, but also close to Einsiedeln. And I will always remember that the abbot of the Einsiedeln monastery gave me 10,000 Deutschmark to study in München, Theologe und auch Philosophie. So I've studied theology and theology and philosophy in the West, that is in France, in Switzerland, in Germany, and also in Great Britain. Then I went to study a bit political science in Washington, D.C. And today I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a writer, 20 books so far, in the area of conservatism. And I'm, of course, supporting Georgescu, who is our candidate for the presidency against the liberal progressive Lasconi.
Now, you mentioned the two candidates. There is the liberal progressive Lasconi, a woman that is, labeled as pro-Western, very progressive. And then there is the dark horse, a person that nobody expected to be in scoring the best results, who is Georgescu. Georgescu is labeled as a fascist, as a right-wing, as a pro-Putin person. He has a very negative press in the West. Please, can you tell me, how do you see the candidate that you support, Georgescu?
But first and foremost, I will say that we call our adversary Kamala Lasconi, because she's a bit like Kamala Harris, to a large extent, very, very incompetent. I mean, there's no professional background there. She can barely speak any foreign language. She also shows no real understanding of the geopolitical issues at stake, and we are right now in the western and the eastern part of Europe concerned about the peace resolution between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Here comes Georgescu, because he is all for peace. He is a bit like Viktor Orban and a bit like Andrzej Duda, the leader of Poland, interested to see a final agreement between both the United States and the Russian Federation when it comes to the conflict in Ukraine. And we hope and we believe also that when Donald Trump is going to be in power as of starting with January the 20th, everything will calm down. As of today, I have to admit that you are right. Georgescu is being presented as a fascist, as a nationalist. I think he's just a patriot. He has a PhD in the area of agriculture. He studied a lot. I think sustainable development. He worked for the various organizations in Geneva and also in New York for the World Organization, which is also looking into ways in which we can help the underdeveloped countries. He's also a father of 3. He's a husband. He's a deeply religious person. He's a Christian Orthodox, and he's against illegal migration. He's against, of course, the war. He's pro-family. He doesn't quite like the woke ideology and the LGBTQ agenda being promoted in schools. So he's a typical Eastern European conservative.
Let's just stay with that label first a little bit, because it's important to clarify that. Fascist is a very strong term, and it's been used quite a bit these days. Georgescu has made some statements of sympathy with fascist leader in Romanian history. What were these statements, and what can you say about those statements?
I personally think we should avoid making statements which only historians are being asked to make about the past. I mean, professional historians should make such judgments. I think a politician should be concerned about the present and the future. Now, it's true that in Romania we had various individuals who were initially patriots because they fought the First World War, but then they became controversial and tainted with the ideology of the age in the Second World War. A bit like, if you don't mind the comparison and the analogy, a bit like Ernst Jünger. He was a hero in the First World War. He was more of a mixed and controversial figure in the Second World War. And I think we should avoid making such statements. Now, he is a pro-Israeli person, while Lasconi, together with his daughter, supports the Palestinian movement more than Israel per se. He said, Georgescu, that he wants to see the Romanian embassy being moved to Jerusalem. He said there is no room for anti-Semitism. And he also said he wants Romania to be part of NATO and part of the EU. I don't think this is fascism. I think he's just an ordinary Romanian who wants the country to flourish, because we've lost 6 million people already. They are living in the West. We have highly qualified, highly professional doctors, engineers working in Germany, in France, in Great Britain right now for those economies and for those societies. We need them back. We need to rebuild Romania. Romania needs a lot of, I would say, input and a lot of intelligence, and that has to come from the West. And also, Georgescu wants to see there is a climate of peace. There's no way you can build something unless there is peace. This is the first guarantee of peace.
Talking about peace, of course, he's addressing the Ukraine war, the Russian invasion in Ukraine, we have to say. What is his politics vis-a-vis Putin? Because he's called a Putin-Friend, Putin promoter, sometimes even say he's parroting Putin's slogans. How is his relationship with Vladimir Putin?
I mean, again, I'm not part of Georgescu's staff. I just speak as a citizen and as a member of parliament, supporting Georgescu rather than Lasconi, the progressive liberal. We call her Kamala of Romania. Now, Georgescu said repeatedly that his interest is to protect the Romanian people. Now, in order to do so, you have to see a de-escalation of the war. If there is any threat of nuclear war, Romania is on the map. Unfortunately, and Romania could be a target. Why? Because we have, of course, a lot of military bases here, American military bases in Romania, which could be the target of any Russian aggression. We don't want that to happen. So Georgescu said we should make peace in the area by inviting Donald Trump to use his diplomacy skills, the art of the deal. And this is probably going to happen. Now, is Putin being regarded by the average Russian person as a patriot? Maybe so, maybe not. We don't know. 80%, 70% of Russians still support Putin. Sociologists have to find an explanation for it. It's not up to me to say whether this is good or bad. I prefer to see a democratic neighbor rather than an authoritarian neighbor and a former empire like the Russian Empire.
Very briefly, can we expect Romania to stop support for Ukraine in case Georgescu is elected?
We've given the Ukrainians a lot. We've given them social support, moral support, and military support. We've welcomed more than probably 4 million Ukrainians who crossed the country. We gave them shelter. We gave the Ukrainian kids and mothers, a lot of financial support. They spent here many, many months and they received money from our government. But we believe after 3 years, we have to see a settlement. And we will not provide Ukraine with more support unless we see Zelensky being very ready to talk to both Putin and Trump. Now, also, I have to say, we've given a defense system called the Patriot system, which is worth $1 billion to the Ukrainians. That's a lot, and that's enough. What we want to see is also from Kiev, from Zelensky, more respect for the ethnic and religious minorities, like the Orthodox living in Ukraine, who are of Romanian language, and also the Hungarians, who are ethnic minorities in a region called Transcarpathia in Ukraine. We need to see an interest clearly expressed from Zelensky or by Zelensky towards the Romanians and the Hungarians and the other ethnic minorities which have suffered quite a lot. The problem, and I want to address here this issue with the Western audience, with the Swiss audience, is that sometimes we see a double measure. Ukrainian nationalism is being praised by Soros and others. Now, Romanian nationalism is treated as fascism. Why so?
Very interesting, because nationalism in Romania is deeply connected to the religion, to your Orthodox belief. And it's very interesting this day, as we record, this is St. Nicholas Day, 6th of December. And the churches this morning were already full. So you have a lot of very pious people can you explain us how important is religion still for the Romanians in this country?
For 500 years, as I told you, we fought the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was the biggest force in the region, in the Balkans. And the only way for us to preserve our identity was through religion, through the church. The church was the place where you could find freedom, where you could express yourself in your native tongue. The church was the place you could bring your child to learn something different from, say, what the Islam religion would say. And because of that fight against political Islam in our historic past, medieval and modern, early modern past, we still accept the church as a very fundamental institution for our civil society. Just like I would say Christianity was a very important aspect of civil society when Tocqueville visited America, right? Now, the other thing is, under communism, which was yet another historically traumatic experience for us, the church again became a source of comfort, solace, spiritual, resilience. And because of these two experiences, fighting the Ottomans and fighting the communists, the church is standing tall right now. It's because of this that we are not allowing necessarily Muslim mosques to be built here. It's because of the Eastern Christian Orthodox identity that we still believe in the future Europe should stay and should still be a Christian continent. Now, if there is any brand of conservatism which has to be shaped by us, the Eastern Europeans, that conservatism will have to include the Christian ethos. There is something profoundly relevant about Christianity in what we are trying to convey to the younger generation, which is now facing woke ideology. We tell the younger generations that there is an identity which is deep, which is profound, which is spiritual, which can be found in Christ, which is more, I would say, uplifting than the identity, the sexual identity that one can find today in a male form, tomorrow in a female form, the day after tomorrow perhaps in a transsexual form. Such identities do not actually uplift the spirit. We believe there is more to life than pursuing these social justice games, and we believe that spiritual realm can be found in church.
So rather than being backwards, as a lot of media is profiling Romanians, you would say you preserved something, the belief, Christianity, that is core to your identity and is also core to Europe.
Urs, a lot of young people today in the West are fighting these addictions, right? From pornography to alcohol to drugs. There's no question about it. We are witnessing a collapse of institutions such as the family, the traditional nuclear family. We are witnessing a demise in our education. The woke ideology is destroying the campuses in America. A young person today in the West is in a very difficult position to find a role model. And the geniuses, the heroes, and the saints from the past. Whether we talk about Jan Sobieski, who fought in 1688 to defend Vienna against the Ottomans. Whether we talk about the saints which were produced in the Gulag when Solzhenitsyn was trying to fight Stalinism. We will always find in the East, whether we talk about Romania, Poland, or even Russia, we will find, the non-communist Russia, traditional Christian Russia, we will find models of, I would say, vertical attitude towards any kind of compromise, moral compromise. And that's something which resonates deeply with lots of thinkers and, I would say, philosophers from the West, such as Jordan Peterson. It came to my mind, this news that he's interested in developing or in understanding more about Eastern Orthodoxy. Rod Dreher is another interesting character. He's a convert to Eastern Orthodoxy. And that's why I believe any connection from the West to our Eastern heritage is, I would say, fruitful and very valuable.
Mihail Neamțu, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a wonderful St. Nicholas weekend.
Ich danke Ihnen, and of course I wish you a blessed holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.